Hello students, a very warm welcome to the YouTube channel of Analyst IAS. So our today's topic for discussion is the State of the World report which have been released by the UNFPA. So we'll look towards it in detail. We'll see why news, what is this report, then what are the key findings of the report, what does it say about India, what are its recommendations, then what is the agency which releases it. After that we'll be solving our today's prelims practice question. So let's start. Why news? Recently, the United Nations Population Fund has released the State of World Population Report 2023, and it states that India is going to take over China, and also it's becoming the world's most populous city by the middle of the 2023, which is around July. What is this report? So for the first time, the United Nations report focuses on bodily autonomy. Bodily autonomy is the power and agency to make choices about your own body without any fear of the violence or having someone else decide that for you. So this is what bodily autonomy is. And it also measures both women's powers to make their own decisions about their bodies, and also the extent to which the country's laws support or interfere with the woman's right to make these decisions. For example, in Afghanistan there are laws which interfere in it, but not in India. So it's about both the choices. Now this report of 23 is where bodily autonomy has been discussed in detail, and the key findings are based on survey of many countries. So what are the key highlights of the report? So first of all, we'll say about population estimation. So India's population is going to reach 142.86 crores, and China's population would be 142.57 crores, which would be 29 lakh more people than our Asian neighbor, which would be around July 23. 25% India's population is of the age group of 0 to 14 years, 18% are 10 to 19 age group, 26% are in the age group of 10 to 24, and around 68% are among the 15 to 64 age group. It is the working age group, and around 7% are above 65. So we have less old population but more younger population. The United States is the third most populated country in the world, and the population is around 340 million. If we see about the population growth rate, so number of people have risen throughout the years, but this growth rate, it has fallen. It is the growth rate of the population, it has fallen. So now about the fertility rate. So India's total fertility rate was estimated at around 2, and the world average was around 2.3. So it's still lower. Developed regions have a fertility rate of 1.5, less developed regions have 2.4, and the countries which are less developed, the fertility rate is 3.9. If we talk about life expectancy, so average life expectancy of an Indian male, it is around 71, and it is 74 for the females. And if we talk about globally, then it is projected about 71 for male and 76 for the females. In developed regions, the male was projected around 77 years, and it was 83 for females, which was the highest of all. And if we see about the less developed regions, so the age for the male is 70 and 74 for female. And for the least developed countries, like some countries in Africa, so it is around 63 for males and 68 for females. Still, the life expectancy of female is higher than the male in overall. Gender rights, if we talk about, so violence by the living partner or the intimate partner in the last 1 year, it was reported by 18% of women, and while 66% of women, they had their own decision making on sexual health and reproductive health, and also reproductive rights in India. So we are talking about India, still domestic violence is high. A little over 80% of the women had some say in decision making about their own health care. So now if we see about population growth concentration, so there are regions in which there are more population growth. So more than half of the projected increase in the global population up to 2050, it is concentrated in 8 countries. These 8 countries will see it more. So these are Democratic Republic of Congo, it is Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, the Philippines, and the United Republic of the Tanzania. The India scenario. So India has now 142.6 million people and is the most populous country in the world, and we have left China behind. As much as 68% of the India's population, it belongs to the 15 to 64 years of category. We saw it, and 26 to the 10 to 24, and making India one of the youngest countries in the world, and we have to take that opportunity. However, the fertility rate in India, it has been steadily dropping. It's around 2, and the National Health Family Survey 5 from 2019 to 21, it found that the total FTR was around 2.0 for the first time fertility rate, and it was around 2.2 in the National Family Health Survey of 4. So increased use of contraceptive methods, spacing of pregnancies, the age gap between both the children, so spacing in the pregnancies, access to the health care, and the impetus to the family planning, besides increasing wealth in India, increasing education, these all have contributed to the growth rate of the population, which is slowing. Now we will see about the most populous countries of the world. So the most populous is India, then China, then United States, Indonesia, Pakistan, Nigeria, Brazil, Bangladesh. Then there is Russian Federation, and after that it is Mexico. What are the recommendations of the report? So it calls for a radical rethink on how the countries are addressing the changing demographies, and it also cautioned against use of family planning as a tool for achieving the fertility targets. It want the global experience showed that the family planning here, it can lead to gender based discrimination and harmful practices such as prenatal sex determination, and if prenatal sex determination would be there, it will lead to sex selective abortion. Imposition of such targets can lead to imbalance in the sex ratios, preferential health and nutrition of male children, then denial of paternity of female children, violence against women for giving birth to the girl child. It happens a lot. And coercion of women to have fewer or greater numbers of children. These things happen in India, and mostly you will see these things in the region of Rajasthan and all. So which, with close to 50% of its population below the 25 of age, India has a time bound opportunity to benefit from this demographic dividend which we have today, and it must and should convert this into economic benefits through additional investments, and additional investment should be in health, education, and quality jobs for young people, skill trainings and all, including targeted investment should be there in the women and the girls. The report strongly recommended that the governments introduce policies with gender equality and the rights to their hearts, such as parental leave programs, child tax credits, then policies that promote gender equality in the workplace, and then there are periods leave as well, and universal access to sexual and reproductive health and rights. What is the agency which releases this report? So it is a subsidiary organ of the UNGA, UN General Assembly, and it works as a sexual and reproductive health agency. This UN Economic and Social Council establishes its mandate, and it was established as a trust fund. It is a trust fund in 1967, and it began operations in the 1969. In 1987, basically it was officially renamed as United Nations Population Fund, but earlier the name was United Nations Fund for Population Activities. So it is UNFPA, but this is UNPF. Now UNFPA, it works directly to tackle the Sustainable Development Goals, which is on health, SDG 3, education, SDG 4, and the gender equality, which is SDG 5. It is not supported by the UN budget. Instead, it is entirely supported by the contributions of the donor governments, intergovernmental organizations, the private sector, foundations, and individuals. So it's not funded by the UN budget. Now let's discuss our today's prelims practice question. So Recently, the State of the World report was released by UNG, IMF, UNFPA, FAO. This was all about today's video and session. Hope you understood it. Thank you. Have a nice day and stay tuned with Analyst IAS.